Hi, Alison.
Hi, Kino. How are you doing?
I'm good, thanks. And yourself?
Wonderful. Thank you.
Am I pronouncing your surname right? McBain.
McBain, yes.
Alison McBain. Alison McBain, welcome to the show. It's a pleasure to have you here. Thank you for taking the time.
Thank
Much
you so much for
appreciated.
having me.
And where are you coming to us from today?
I am from Alberta in Canada, so a bit farther north than you are.
Way not. And what's your average? Are you so it's still morning for you, correct?
It is morning for me here, yeah. So barely.
Yes. And what's your average morning like for busy women such as yourself?
Aside from going on podcasts, a lot of times I'm doing writing, I'm editing for clients. I also do a bit of ghostwriting. So you never know. It changes from day to day.
Do you ever get any sleep?
Little bit of sleep. I'm also a mom, so I have kids who do tend to keep me up too.
Yeah. Listen, let's start off with this. You are an author that is focused on a topic that I bring up each and every single time when I'm chatting to authors, and it's always at the end of the show. And I refer to it as a question that's the cherry on top of the cake, and the topic is artificial intelligence. Now, why I bring it up on the show is because of the uncertainty, the anxiety that it has caused in the creative space, whether it's making a song, writing a book, or designing the next piece of art. That is what your book, Author versus AI, is all about. And I want to read this to the audience because this was a huge wow for me, right? Alison McBain is the author behind Author versus AI, starting on Global Book Day, which was last year, April 23rd, 2024. She will write a book a week for 52 weeks. Her mission is to show that one author can take on AI and create novels almost as fast, but much better than AI programs. She will answer the question now being posed by creators everywhere: will AI replace me? You see, and that's the concern, that's the anxiety, that's in the creative space. And you are focused on the topic. So this is the first time on the show, instead of me just asking an author for their opinion, especially for independent creators who are uncertain right now whether they should pursue their dreams of writing. You know, there's like this full stop there. Should I not? Because so many people are using AI now to write books and they're posting it, but they're not true soulful creators. They're doing it just to get monetized, like get rich quick scam. You know, that's how I view it. So they're uncertain. So this is the first time we're going to take a deep dive into the topic. So, when you watch these gangster related movies on the street, I'm going to use like street word here. What's your beef with artificial intelligence?
There's a lot. There's a lot of negatives to artificial intelligence. Starting with what you said, it is taking, is sort of creating an upheaval, an earthquake in the creative sphere because people aren't sure if it's going to replace them. But if we back up a little bit, first of all, is how artificial intelligence was created. It was created basically by these large corporations and it was created by stealing authors' works. There's a lot of lawsuits right now that are in the works. Some have been decided, but some are still ongoing about if this was, within copyright law for these companies to take authors' works without their permission and use them to create this product that that they're selling essentially and creating
Yeah.
profit from. So where AI originated by itself is problematic. On top of that, it has huge environmental concerns. It's sucking up more energy than any other search engine. I think it's something like 10 times the amount of energy. And each time it improves, it uses up more energy, more resources, more water, all things that have scarcity around the world. So essentially, in a lot of ways, it is creating a whole bunch of problems for people on all walks of life.
Yeah, 100%. I was chatting to an author, he's based in Texas, and he also mentioned, the amount of energy it's actually taking, also with blockchain technology as well. Crypto, it's also
Exactly.
taking up a lot of energy. So he's concerned, when I mentioned to him the power outages that are occurring like in South Africa and I mean other countries around the world as well. So he's concerned, like in the States, there's going to be like similar issues because of the amount of energy, AI and blockchain is actually pulling. The thing is right now, for me, it feels like it's unstoppable. You know, artificial intelligence is going to play a huge role in the future to come. It's growing more and more as each day progresses. More users are getting involved in it. More people are implementing it into their day-to-day life. More businesses are implementing it into their own businesses. I was chatting with a colleague today as well that told me about Coca-Cola and the amount of employees that they are actually letting go because AI machinery is taking over that workload. So what's your take on it in the future to come? Do you see yourself like as an advocate to like stop it? It's an ambitious goal, but I mean, given the work and the space you're in, what does the future look like to you? How do you control it?
I don't think any one person can stop it at this point. As you said, it is here. Um, but at the same time, I don't think we as creatives have to be afraid of it. And there are a number of reasons because that I can pull up. For example, if you've ever read any AI writing, it definitely doesn't come close to what humans can create. And there are a number of very specific technical reasons. One, it does terrible dialogue. Uh, Two, it has terrible pacing often. Three, you can only do short excerpts from AI. You can't say, hey, write a whole book. It will spit out small little parts of a book. So either way, no matter how you use it, it has to have a human behind it. It has to have a human using it in order to form something. At the same time, like I know AI technology is getting better all the time. So will it eventually maybe be close to what we do? Maybe, but I still have great doubts about it because a whole bunch of writing is not about logic. What AI does is it takes all the writing from around the world, right? All the information, and it condenses it down and sort of makes it generic. It's like, okay, I found all this information. This is the summary, and that is how it rates too. Here's the summary. Here's the summary of a story that you might want. However, writing isn't like that. Writing is about the details. Writing is about the human experience. Writing, and especially from a writer's perspective, is about love of writing. It's like breathing. We got to do it to survive as writers. We got to write in order to survive. And AI does not have that. And I don't foresee it having that for many years to come, at least. So I think we as creatives are actually pretty safe. Speaking of creatives.
Yeah, yeah. There's no emotion behind it.
No, it definitely gets emotions
What
wrong
you just
all the
said.
time.
Yeah. I mentioned once also, on the show, and it was just an opinion of mine, that as long as we're using our devices, whether it be a laptop, whether it be a phone, I just feel behind the scenes, it's gathering all that information as well. Like I feel like, the big tech companies already have that in play, So maybe you carrying your phone, right? And then an idea comes to mind, there's the spark. You take out your phone and then you jot it down, even if it's just like on a notepad on the phone. I feel that information is getting gathered behind the scenes. Conspiracy theory.
Well, I mean, your phone, I don't know if you've noticed this. I don't think it's a conspiracy theory. Your phone listens to you. So, like, if you're talking on
Yeah.
your phone, right? Or you're talking to someone in person, and let's say you mention, oh, I'm looking to buy a table. I really like this table. I want a wooden table. All of a sudden, ads will start popping up
Yes.
on your
Yes.
phone. Oh, it is listening to you. It's not a conspiracy theory. They are literally doing that. Um,
Yes.
but yeah, it's part of
Yeah.
how ads are regulated to people these days. It's part of the algorithm. Like, yes, it's going to listen to you. It's going to scan all the stuff you put into it. But again, that's not as concerning, I guess, for creatives, because again, it's
Yeah.
taking a ton of information and sort of summarizing it. So even if you're, putting your information in there in your phone, talking about it around your phone, it's not going to steal what you as a creator can produce.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Before we move on to your book, I want to share a similar example with you. I was sitting with a friend of mine. This was last month sometime. And we sitting there and we're chilling. He's on his phone, and I'm just checking, my Instagram notifications. And then he asked me a question, because now I'm in the music business, what's happening with Justin Bieber. This is him asking me while I got my phone in my hand and I'm on Instagram. And he's asking me what's going on with Justin Bieber. So I'm explaining to him, this is what's up. So the conversation between him and I ends as I scroll. I mean, literally down to the next post, Justin Bieber pops up.
Of course.
And I'm like, look at this. Look at this. I wasn't even searching for Justin Bieber. And he looks at me shocked. And I'm like, yeah, this is how advanced it is right now. The phone, as you said, is listening to you, and the algorithms are getting more and more advanced. And then he started to pay attention to it. And a few days later, he searched for, I can't recall what it was. He searched for something on Facebook that he wants to buy. Next thing he knows, wherever he's going on his phone, it's popping up. It's popping up. This store is popping up. That store is popping up for that same product. It's
That's so
crazy,
funny. The funny thing is most science fiction writers from, like 10, 20, 30, 40 years ago, they got it wrong. Like they talked about Big Brother listening. They talked about, 1984, but it's not to stop us from thinking a certain way or talking a certain way. What it is it's trying to sell us things.
Yeah.
So most science fiction authors didn't see it like that. They didn't think, hey, Starbucks would own a portion of the moon or something, or that commercial space flight would only exist because there are these billionaires out there who are bored. So like
Yeah.
essentially the commercialism that is driving all our technology is pretty much out of this world.
Yeah. And I mean, let's be pragmatic, right? The space that you and I are in and what we do for a living, we need technology. We need a laptop or a PC. We need a phone. You can't avoid it. Like I would love to just say, oh yeah, let me just like disappear, no technology, but then what comes of my life? What do I do then? What's next? Yeah, I can go and hide away on some island, or maybe Bali, Thailand, and just be like completely off the grid. But then what comes of my life and my goals and, what I want for my future? And that's the anxiety, with writers, up and coming writers at the moment. What do I do? Do I get started on this project? But let's tap into your book, right? What's not all the details, Of course, I want to promote the book. I want listeners to actually purchase the book and read more about you online. But what's your aim? What's your mandate with your book, Authors versus AI?
Okay, well, actually, Author versus AI was my project. So the books that came about from it, those are all different genres. So most of them are fiction books. So I've written everything from YA horror, to science fiction, to fantasy, to literary works, even a couple of short story collections. So that's what came out of the Author versus AI project. So
So
that
the project, not a book itself.
exactly, yeah.
Right, right,
Although,
right, right.
Yep.
I'm correct
Part
in
of
that.
what I'm going to be working on next will be, well, maybe not next, but in the future is I'm going to be writing about my experience doing this project, and including tips and tricks on how to write quickly, because I was writing a book a week for a number of weeks, and that in itself is something that not a ton of authors can do, but there are
Yeah.
definitely ways to get into writing quickly, writing well, and a lot of it was preparation ahead of time. So it took me about 6 months of preparing for this project before I even got it off the ground.
Yeah. As I said at the start of the show, it was a big wow to me. I mean, a book a week. Wow. Like, I mean, and what was the length of each book per week?
Well, I went by the official designation of a book for publishers, agents. If so, 40,000 words and above. So a lot of them were on the shorter side. But what I've been doing since my project completed, because my project did complete, is I've been editing those books, making them longer, sending them out. So a number of them have actually they're not published yet, but they've seen the light of day, and they've been to several contests and publishers, and they're getting some good feedback right now.
So we're talking about 50 plus books here.
I just stop a little bit short of my project. I did get tired. So
Yeah.
my goal
I can
was
imagine.
52 books. My goal was
Yeah.
a full year, and I got a bit derailed. So I did end up completing 34 books.
34 books. But I mean, that is still a huge accomplishment. Well done on that. I mean, how long will it take like an average author, to get 34 books done? How many years? Over there.
Probably a few. Few years. But
Yeah,
there
because
are
I mean,
other writers who write pretty fast, pretty darn fast also, but this was just sort of like it was a personal goal, and it was also to inspire, because as you said,
yeah, yeah.
there are a lot of authors that I speak to as in my role as an editor and publisher that were getting discouraged by the advent of AI. They were saying, "Well, why should I write a book? I can just plug in my idea and AI will write it for me." And I wanted to show that no, we do it because we love it, and continue writing. You have a voice, you have a unique voice, and AI can never take that away from you.
You have your own story, your own unique story, whether it be fiction or non-fiction.
Exactly.
And I mean, you should share that story with the world, whatever the case may be. You know, you actually should. But 34 books, I mean, sure. I'm still shocked about it. I'm still trying to take it all in. Check it out. And I mean, given that it was a project to inspire, the books didn't have to necessarily be perfect, right? You know, it didn't. Now you're perfecting it and you're sending it out.
Exactly.
So
There's no
let's
such thing as a perfect first draft. First drafts are always ugly in certain ways. They always need work. And that would be truly unbelievable if I could write 34 perfect books on the first try. No, no. I can't write one perfect book on the first try. Everything needs editing.
yeah. Well, I mean, 99% of the authors that come on the show, it doesn't really take them long to finish that first draft. They explain to me that, look, I can finish the book in a week, maybe even 2 weeks. But the thing is, it's the editing process.
Oh,
You
that
need
takes
to go
forever.
with the editor. And that takes, this amount of time. Then it comes back. Then you send it back to the editor. Then that takes this amount of time again. And by the time the book is actually released, I mean, one author said it was a year, to get one book out there. So I feel authors are quick at, getting their ideas down or what they want the book to be about, just the process, getting it to market,
Yep.
all there along the way.
Writing is fast, publishing is slow.
Yeah. So as editor, okay, how's that been for you? Is that something that, came about after you started writing, or was that something that you've always been doing?
In a way, it's something I've always been doing. My mom is actually retired now, but she was a copy editor for many years for newspapers. So I grew up with her always correcting my grammar, and it sort of stuck. So yeah, editing was a very natural way into sort of writing and publishing for me. And I love being an editor. I love helping other writers. I've worked with thousands of writers at this point in my life, and each time it's wonderful to discover a new writer, a new voice, and to really help them polish up their work and have it see the light of day. That is very, very rewarding.
Yeah. I mean, AI also plays a role with editing. There's a few authors I've come past to say, okay, look, I can't afford to hire an editor. So I'm going to write my book and then I'm going to ask AI to edit the book for me. So I'm sure you don't advise that, you know, definitely not.
Well, I mean, there are some programs that can help with the basics. So, for example, Grammarly is a free program. It does incorporate AI, but it can help with like, hey, you need to put a comma here. You need to do, maybe this word is misspelled. So it can do things like that. But when it comes to the deeper editing, looking at story structure, for example, and really maybe looking at character development, that's something that again AI falls short on. It can't see the human element of a story, so it can't advise on that part of the story. So again, it's helpful to have, even if you can't afford an editor, there are a number of different ways into editing your work, such as writers groups. I always love writers groups. I recommend them to all of my new authors. Or, there are some online critique groups also. So there are a lot of ways to get that human feedback that doesn't require AI. I agree.
Yeah, yeah. There's so many tools out there, and I love to also, try it out myself and see, what works best or to differentiate. And, being a music producer as well, there's the manual way of mastering a song. And I see all these new platforms coming up, and there's this new one that I actually tested out last week. And I wanted to compare, the difference between manually mastering the song versus using, this advanced AI platform that's just been released, to the music industry. And quite honestly, I was impressed. I was impressed of the final product. When I compared it 2 3 years ago when I tried out different platforms, I wasn't too impressed. But like the clarity that actually came out, and then I sent it, to someone to listen to it and tell me, do you notice any difference? And they were like, no, this was like a big wow. So it just showed me, how more advanced it's actually getting, in all areas within the creative space. Because then I look at all the sound engineers out there on the work for hire, you know, their work, their jobs, is on the line right now as this software, becomes more and more advanced. So it's either, which look, some music producers are doing at the moment, they're integrating AI with their work, instead of fighting it and saying, look, I'm not going to use it, let me rather integrate it. And I'm talking about like mainstream producers at the moment. So, my advice that I'm giving to people or sound engineers, on the ground level working in the independent space is like, you know, do what you do, love what you do it for the love, like as you mentioned before, but see where you can also integrate and use it to be beneficial for you before you end up just completely with no work at all. Because
Yeah.
that's just where I see it, on that side of the industry. So, Alison, you're also a ghostwriter. Do you enjoy being a ghostwriter?
Yeah, it's fun to, as I said, I like to help people have their voices heard. So being a ghostwriter is a bit like that. It's fun to dive into their worlds because I know the worlds that are inside my own head that come out on the page. But it's fun sort of taking a tour of other people's worlds. And it can be a lot of fun. It is more restricting, I would say, than writing my own stuff. But it's great. It's great to do, and it's great to explore all the different ideas out there, I would say.
Yeah.
But
Well, I'm sure the plus on it is that you get paid well, being a
yeah.
ghostwriter, especially if you're writing for a celebrity, for example. But when you see the book like released, with that celebrity's name on it, for example, whoever, do you ever get like disheartened a bit? Like, that's my work, you know?
Um, I
My
suppose
name
I
is not there.
would. I suppose I would if I didn't have so many of my own ideas. So again, it's to me, it's partly a job, and you get paid for it, and partly it's fun to help other people have their ideas go out there if they're not able to do it for themselves. But at the same time, I have tons of my own ideas. I have tons of my own books written and published, so I'm not so worried about seeing someone else's success. I would say with my help.
Yeah, yeah. 100%. Thank you for answering that. So, I mean, besides, your project, you've got your own work, the New Empire. That's one of your latest books.
Yeah,
What's that
it's an
about?
it's an alternate history, and it basically asks the question, what if? So what if a key point in history changed from how it actually happened? So this one is surmising that what if China, the Chinese Empire, sent ships to the Americas before Europeans did? How would that have changed the timeline of history? And in my idea, changed it quite a bit. With the partnership with China, a number of the indigenous groups ended up banding together much earlier and forming sort of a world superpower. So by the time Europeans came over to the Americas, they were met with a much stronger resistance. And so again, it really sort of looks at how history could have changed by one small change in our own past.
Yeah. All it takes is that one small change, right? How many
Exactly.
times have we seen this happening in movies? That one small act can change the whole entire future.
It completely can.
You know,
Yes.
so you just like reverse engineered history in the book itself.
Yes.
So if this happened, this is how the world will actually look right now.
Exactly. Yeah, and I used a lot of research on how history actually happened, and a lot on languages and different cultures to sort of meld that together into how I pictured it. So there was a lot of research that went into it, and I sort of had to teach myself various languages. So there's a lot of Chinese in there. There's a lot of different indigenous languages that are incorporated. And it's a book that doesn't have a single European character in it, actually. So it's all told from the perspective of Chinese characters and indigenous characters, which was a lot of fun to do.
Nice. Quite an intriguing story you got going on there. But I mean, it's like, you know, for me, it's like it's reality, and it just shows, that whatever we do now, like every action has this opposite and equal reaction. So, I mean, it can also, if I read it, you know, lifting this pin up now, you know, will lead to something happening, but what if I don't lift up the pin now? It's going to lead to something else happening. Forget where I'm going with this. I'm probably confusing this right now.
No, it's definitely. No, another name for it, and I forget who coined the phrase, was the butterfly effect. So
Yeah.
a butterfly flaps its wings around the world, and it causes a storm that changes, the whole course of history. So yeah, something very small can make huge changes to what happened.
Yeah. There was actually a movie, you know, The
Oh, it's
Butterfly
based
Effect.
off the phrase, yeah.
Yeah. There was actually a movie. That was quite an interesting movie. And I mean, how many times did he attempt to actually, change the future? And every outcome was disastrous as the last. You know,
It
but I
can
think
be.
the lesson there is, you can't change the past. The future is the future, accept it for what it is. So that's what I took away from it, at least. So you're also an associate editor for a magazine as well. You wanna mention the name of the magazine
Yeah,
and what the
definitely.
magazine is
So
about?
the magazine is called Scribes Micro, and we publish very, very short pieces of writing. So about 100 words. So 100 word stories, 100 word, nonfiction stories, poetry. Basically, if you can cram it into about 100 words, then we'll take a look at it. And it's been going on. We started it during the pandemic because, a lot of people, we used to do anthologies and a lot of people didn't really want stuff in their mails, a physical copy in their mail anymore. So we started the magazine, my editors and I. And it became very popular. We got a lot of really great feedback, so we just kept it going. And yeah, we're still continuing with it today. We do run a contest every year with big cash prizes. And we're just actually today, I think yesterday was the deadline. So we just closed that off. So we'll be announcing the winners soon. But it's a lot of fun. It's something you can scroll on your phone quite easily.
Yeah. So is this like 100% digital magazine, or is
It's
it also?
online, yeah. Yeah, it's online. Eventually, we're planning on maybe releasing an anthology of some of the stories, but that's probably in the future. Again, you'd need a lot of 100-word stories to fill up a whole book.
Yeah, yeah. Since you in the online magazine space, I got to ask a question. There's so much scams that are going around right now. We're getting these magazine representatives, as they would like to call themselves, who will reach out to you. A few have also reached out to me, and they would love to feature you because you've accomplished ABC. And then I think that to myself, because there's a price tag to it. Oh no, but you have to pay like $500 to $1,000, in order to get this, article out there. And I'm thinking to myself, but if you feel I've accomplished ABC and you've reached out to me, why do I need to pay so much money for this?
Yeah.
Like,
It's the new level of
so,
scammer. I mean, people target writers all the time, which is
yeah.
unfortunate. And I'm going to tie it back to our original part of our conversation. AI has made this quite easy for them. So basically, what they'll do is they'll plug in someone's website and have AI spit out a letter being very, praiseworthy and saying, "Oh, you're such a wonderful writer and you accomplished these things. And wouldn't you like it if I helped you with that? And give me some money."
Mm.
So I've noticed an uptick in my own inbox. I would say in the past year where I'm getting these like multiple times a day, these letters from, yeah, scammers. It's just a new level of scammer, unfortunately. So I would say that not all, of course, but a lot of times when you get an email like that, it's has nothing to do with writing or promoting your work for real. Like it's much better if you're reaching out to someone else.
Yeah,
If it comes into your inbox, it's probably not legit.
yeah. There's another author based in Canada. His name is Don Sawyer.
Oh yeah.
Not sure if you know him. You know it,
Yes. No. Yeah.
So, we are quite close, we buddies now after, he came onto the show. And then we eventually started our own podcast together, which is called Creating Team Human. And just like you explained it, someone reached out to him. But, Don has no filter, right? So he sends this response, back to this lady, and then he sends it to me afterwards to read. I was like, laugh out loud for like 30 minutes when I saw his response to this person, you know? And then he like pointed out, valid questions. And then I did, I'm like, yeah, definitely, But the most critical question, that he asked the lady, like, did you actually read my book? Did you notice
No,
this?
they did not.
Did you notice that? There was no response after that. There's no
Yeah.
response that you actually get after that. But one thing I've also picked up on is that, okay, look, these scammers have gotten smart when it comes to the domain, because now with AI as well, you can create domains and, it's a once-off fee instead of like using like a traditional company. But also look at the name of the person, and then I look at the name of the person, I'm like, that doesn't look like a real name to me, you know? Something is off about the name. Like, is there really a person in Vietnam? Sure, okay, you can copy and, check on online, on Google or Instagram, wherever does this person really exists. But by just looking at the name, you know, like, it just doesn't make sense. And the reason I'm like, chatting about this is because creators really need to be careful, right? If you're an up and coming author, and I understand, getting publicity, plays a critical role in the development of your career, but don't make the wrong choice. Someone reaches out to you, don't be desperate enough to pay that $1,000. And I mean, this is the price tag that gets thrown my way. I see it coming in my inbox. $1,000. That's a lot of money. Don't just throw that $1,000 because you're so desperate for that publicity. Also do your research. Yes, you'll probably see they'll give you a link. It's a magazine. Yes, it's online. But I also feel, you need to take the data into consideration. Have they given you facts? What's the reach? What's the subscribers? What are they getting? What are you getting in return for investing so much besides having an article about you or a front page story about you online? Like, what reach are you getting on that? If you go on the social media, have you seen, how many people actually engage with the platform itself? Some of these companies as well, they'll have a US registered address. But then when you go online, you see, no, it's mainly people that are based in Arab countries. Now, that doesn't make sense to me. So you need to see that it actually makes sense to you, before you take that jump. Because that's where it's getting, desperate for publicity.
That's true. And again, that's why writers are easy targets, because they they do want that step. And there's a lot of rejection in this industry, and any creative industry, honestly. There's a lot of rejection. And so, people will jump on that opportunity that seems to present itself, which is unfortunate. But there is a great website that I always advise writers to go to, and it's called Writers Beware. And it's run by, I think her name is Victoria Strauss. And so she gets, different writers write into her, and she does her own investigating, and she will expose different scams. And she has them all on her website. And so like if you ever get something, to all the writers out there, if you ever get something and you're like, I don't know if this sounds legitimate, check her website first. Often she responds in real time because people are reaching out to her all the time. And so you can see if this is a scam that someone is trying to pull, or if it's real, So that is a good first stop to make when you're doing your research.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that. I mean, this is like, I can understand the anxiety, It's such a dangerous world that we are living in right now, in this digital era, that you just have to be so careful. And, I'm the type of guy, I love to take risks, and there's been few examples, where someone reaches out to me and, hey, Kino, we would love to feature you here. This is how much it's going to cost. Alison, I kicked them all the way to the end, right? All the way to the end. Without paying anything, right? Without paying anything, I'll be like, okay, but the price is too high, so let's negotiate. Then they'll get back to me. Yeah, okay, we'll drop down to this price. But I'm like, I've just touched base with my team, but my team's saying this is a little too much and we can't afford it right now. Then they'll drop it even lower. Then I'm like, okay, what would you need from me? Oh no, you would just need to sign this agreement, whatever. And I will actually sign the agreement, because I know that legally speaking, you got no case against me. He's no case against me, And I'll send it back. Okay, what else do you need? Oh yeah, no, we need this from you, whatever. I'll send it through. I'll take them all the way to the end. And then what I do next after that, I stop communicating with you. Lesson learned for you. There's a lesson learned for you.
I mean, honestly, hopefully word gets around and people will be like, oh, I don't want to try to scam Kino. He's just going to waste my time.
But
So,
you know how?
hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully. And then they think you're so ignorant, because the moment you accept the offer, like what I did in one example, because I knew what I'm going to do here now, I'm going to make a fool out of you. Straight after that, there will be this magazine reaching out to you. It's like this whole clique.
Yeah.
It's a whole clique in the scammer world. So the moment you accept one offer or you engage in conversation, okay, you will notice now. And this is, for educational purposes, for creators out there, what we're talking about. If I don't take the risk, I'm not going to be able to educate you on what to do and what not to do. You will see straight away, there's going to be this person reaching out to you from this magazine, and this person from this magazine, and this person from this magazine. And they will constantly send you, hey, we restructured the offer, but it's a different magazine, because you never replied to the first one, restructure the offer and we'll give it to you at $750. Then 2 days later, you know what? I've spoken to our editor. We'll give it to you now at $500. So creatives, I know Alison and I are having a laugh out of this, but careful, just be careful. Yeah. Your magazine is legit. You online, you got a strong digital presence. Those are the people, you should reach out to. And if you have accomplished something great with your book, with your writing, you should not have to pay for someone to feature, you on their platform, right? You run contests, okay? And there's so many different people and authors that are running different contests. You run contests, enter the contest. And if someone is telling you to enter the contest, that, okay, is legit. Yes, someone's saying, hey, you can send your work through, we're going to have a look at it. And if it's good enough, we'll feature you. For me, that's something legit,
Exactly.
because
And the magazines should pay writers, which is what we do. And you can also magazines should make the information accessible. So for us, we wanted our magazine to be completely free, so people can go and read any of our back issues. Everything's accessible online. You can see, we're now in the 3rd year of our contest. You can go back and see the winners from the previous 2 years. So yeah, we definitely, look for those signs. Those are always good signs.
all the signs are there. Alison, thank you so much for sharing, your knowledge with the community that will listen to the show. That's what the podcast is about. It's about creators who are just uncertain at the moment, besides, of course, promoting your own work. So what does the future hold next for Alison for 2025? Let's just leave it in 2025. What's next for you?
Well, I'm going to continue to edit these books and send them out. And I'm hoping that next year, readers will start to see some of them in print. Although I can't guarantee it. As I said, publishing is slow. And yeah, so just keeping on plugging away with the writing and editing and publishing my magazine. So yeah. Thank you so much for having me on. It's been lovely.
Oh, it's been a pleasure. And I just got to ask also, when it comes to your ghostwriting and your editing, is this like a public service? Like people can reach out to you at any corner of the world and be like, Alison, you edit this for me or ghostwrite for me. Do you allow people to reach out to you that way?
Yeah, people can reach out to me. I do charge for my services. Otherwise, I would not feed my kids.
Of course,
But
yes.
yeah, I do give a lot of advice away for free. So please feel free to reach out to me. I also belong to a number of writing groups. I run a number of writing groups. And I'm always happy to help out authors, or because I don't always have 100% time. I do have to sleep sometime, as you pointed out. I do know a lot of other people who are also equally helpful in the publishing industry, and I'm always happy to refer someone to someone else. So,
And
yeah.
how can people reach out to you?
Oh, sure. Just go to my website. All my contact information is there, from my email to my socials. It is AlisonMcBain.com. And I always like to point out, it's Alison with one L, not two.
Thank you. I will definitely share that within the description. Alison, thank you so much for an insightful conversation, really tapping in, into the dark side of the industry.
Well, hopefully not too dark, but yes, there are ways. I actually wore a shirt today that says, without the dark, we never see the stars. And it's a quote from Edgar Allan Poe. And to me, that's true. We have there is a lot of stuff to wade through when you're a creative. There's a lot of rejection, there are scams, there's, AI now, that is encroaching onto it, but there's still the human element, there's still creativity, and everyone has a beautiful voice, and I want to help it get out there. So Thank you so much for
Take
having
this
me.
credit. And I was going to ask you, what is your final words for independent creators out there, but you did it anyway.
That was it.
Thank you so much for sharing your light with the world, Alison. Much, much appreciated. And I wish you all the best with your work
Thanks.
and your
Same to you.
projects to come. Keep doing what you're doing. It's a good fight that you're fighting. Let me just say that. Okay, Alison, thank you so much, and do enjoy the rest of your day.
You too.
All right. Bye, Alison.
Bye.